On to Pro Moto number 2. Here, this Wrangler, the second round of the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series, presented to you by Parts Unlimited. All eyes on the 55 of Digger Doug Gust as he not only won Moto number 1, he chased down your defending champion, the number 13 of John Natale, passed him and put the distance in the gap between them. And Doug Gust could be the man to beat here in Texas today. But John Natale pumping up at Moto number 1. Is it going to repeat itself here in Moto number 2? Questions will be answered in just a few moments as the gate drops and the racing action gets underway here in Texas. It's the Wrangler, Moto number 2, and into turn number 1, it's Yamaha's. It's the 199 of downtown Pat Brown. Corey Ellis right behind him aboard the number 53 as we take a look at our ITP Whole Shot Award and your ITP Whole Shot Tire Rider, number 199, Pat Brown hooks up and takes the early lead. Where will you be after the first turn? Well, if you're Pat Brown, you're out front in the ITP Whole Shot Award here at the Wrangler. So it's Brown, it's Ellis in the number 2 spot. Look at that, Joe Bird not too far behind aboard the number 13. And there is Digger Doug Gust. If you wonder what happened to him, looks like he and Dustin Wimmer got tied up in that first turn and go down. Digger Doug gets up in next to last position with behind him Dustin Wimmer, the 191, and a lot of ground to make up the first place. Can Doug make it happen here? 2 motos in a row? It's going to be tough, but he's got some time. It's Brown out front aboard the 199. Still Ellis back in the number 2 spot. In third, the number 7 of Joe Bird. Looks like Natale in fourth. Blueberg in fifth. They're back in the number 6 spot. That's the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones, trying to make up some ground here in this second moto after a horrible first moto. Look at this, Joe Havistow and Travis Spader together. Spader doing quite well in Saturday qualifying action, but it looks like here in the second moto, he is going to get cut short by Joe Havistow. Tough break for the number 30 Yamaha rider. But these 2 Yamaha riders, no problems for them. It is Brown up front and Ellis in second. That could spell disaster quite possibly for the rest of the field. I've always said if Brown can get up front, what's he going to be able to do with it? Right now it looks like he is stretching things out as he is getting big air back there. Still Bird in third, Natale in the number 4 spot, Newberg in fifth, and 6th place still the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones, with Digger Doug Gust trying to work his way up through the pack from nearly a dead last start after getting tangled up with the 191 of Dustin Wimmer here in the second moto, spoiling Gust's chances of winning the overall here today. Don't count him out yet because it was early in the race, but still it makes it a whole lot tougher to win coming from dead last. Brown controlling the race right now aboard the 199 Yamaha, with Ellis still back in second. A banner day so far for the Yamahas as we take a look now at our Parts Unlimited leaderboard. Brown, Ellis, Joe Bird in third, Natale is fourth, and that is Jason Luberg rounding out the top 5. 6th place now, Tavis Kane, Keith Little in 7th. 8th place, Dunkelberger, Goodman in 9th, and Jeremy Lawson rounding out the top 10. You'll wonder what happened to Jeremiah Jones. Looks like Jones is broke down once more. That's 2 races in a row that he has been taken out by that brand new Suzuki, the LTR 450. But because he's having problems right now, don't think they're not going to get that all figured out and work the bugs out and make Jeremiah Jones be a contender. Whoa, Jeremy Lawson getting out of shape in those tough whoops there as he goes down hard. He's trying to get out of the way. He's up on his feet. That is good news. Look at the battle opening up now between our top 2 Yamaha pilots, first and second, Brown and Ellis. And all that the number 13 of John Natale can do right now early on in this moto is sit and watch it all unfold from 4th place as Joe Bird actually sits between he and these 2 Yamaha pilots. So now that Natale's back in the 4th place position, he pumped up with the pressure being applied to him in moto number 1. Is he going to pump up here in moto number 2, make it as tough to hang on? It's going to be tough to come from behind if that's the case for John Natale. What's going on with the champ? There's Brown, there's Ellis, and look at this battle now. It looks like Bird feeling the pressure from John Natale, so Natale not showing any signs of fatigue here in this second moto, at least early on. Luberg watching it all unfold from that number 5 position, and I'm sure he is happy not to have the competition coming from that number 2 of Jeremiah Jones now, as Jones is out of the race, and now he's got to look out for the number 12 of Keith Little and several other folks back there behind him that would love to do nothing more than to get around him and take a top 5 position here in moto number 2. Through that big monster whoop field we go one more time. Our Yamaha's pulling it out. Look at this. Ellis pulling up on the back of Pat Brown now as our Honda's now going at it. There's Joe Bird. There is John Natale. There is Jason Luberg. A 3-way battle right now for the number 3 position. Look at the battle back for 12th place. That's Digger Doug Gust. You wonder where he's at? From 19th now into a 12th place position. Gust trying to get around Havistow. Back up front, though, it is Brown, it is Ellis, and look at this Bird starting to stretch out now from the number 13 of John Natale. Natale, is he feeling the pressure and the exhaustion from moto number 1? Still battling up front, Brown and Ellis, the gap opening up, but if either one of these two get together, and it happens a lot in ATV racing, we can see a rider from 3rd or 4th place quickly move into a number 1 position if these two riders happen to get together. There's Natale back in 4th place. We'll keep an eye on him for just a second and watch how hard he is charging, trying to reel in Joe Bird, but Bird will not be reeled in. He is denying the champion, John Natale, as Bird does have the points lead coming into this particular round of racing. He knows if he can keep John Natale behind him, he's going to better himself in the overall here today and hold on to the points lead after 2. But we're still a long way away from a checker flag, and a lot of things can happen. And right now, it is the 199 of Brown and Corey Ellis who look like they may be walking away with moto number 2. A good showing for the Yamaha boys, especially after the problems they showed in the first round out in Glen Helen. Look at this, Ellis and Brown now. Looks like Brown may have broke. He looks down to the left side. What's going on? Now Brown off the machine, trying to push the machine off the track. Ellis takes over the lead, and poor Pat Brown can do nothing but watch the rest of the field go rolling by. 2 races in a row that the Yamahas broke down for Pat Brown. We know he is pushing it to its limits. Got to figure out what the weak part of that machine is before Pat Brown's going to be able to take a win. You can see he is frustrated, down on his knees on the edge of the race course, pounding the ground out of frustration. But it is Corey Ellis up front now as Joe Bird smells blood, and now Bird is trying to reel him in from that number 2 spot aboard the number 7. That'll move the champ of John Natale up into a number 3 spot. But all eyes on Ellis, as this is the best run that we've seen Ellis have for quite some time in this ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series presented by Parts Unlimited. Look at the battle back for second. Natale still trying to get around the number 7 of Bird, up to 4th place, the number 8 of Luberg, and you know he has got to be flying high here in Texas today, knowing that he's gotten off to such a strong start here in this second moto and able to finally start putting down some laps that he knows and a lot of other folks know that he is capable of doing. Corey Ellis, your leader, as we are about 3 laps into the race now as we check in with our Parts Unlimited leaderboard. It is Corey Ellis, Joe Bird, John Natale, Jason Luberg, Tavis Kane aboard the number 6, moves up to round out your top 5, then Dunkelberger, Keith Little, Chad Ween, and Matt White, and Digger Doug Gust. Look at that, from 12th now into 10th place, 18th to 12th to 10th. Digger Doug Gust is on his way, and who knows, he might even be able to reel in Corey Ellis and the rest of our leaders out there. We'll have to wait and see just how much steam Digger has before this one's said and done. Joe Bird still holding on to the number 2 spot, fending off Natale. Natale just not able to get the grip, the traction, the momentum that he needs. The slingshot around the number 7 of Joe Bird. Joe Bird obviously has been in this situation more than once throughout his pro racing career. He knows how to make that ATV about 3 wide and make it tough to get around. Not only is he fast, but he's a great defender whenever somebody's coming up behind him, and he's good at cutting those lines off. And John Natale is one of those riders that is finding that out the hard way here today at the Wrangler ATV National Motocross Race. Back in that number 4 spot. Look at that. They're starting to stretch out. Luberg, and back in 5th, Tavis Kane, who is feeling pressure from guys like Dunkelberger, guys like Wimmer, as well as Chad Weenan, Matt White, Rocco Arno, and Travis Spader, who is trying to work his way up through the pack right now. Spader again doing so well in the, whoa, out of shape goes the number 13 of John Natale. Any ground that he made up, I'm sure he might have just lost right there on the number 7 of Joe Bird. As we look back up front once more, it's the 53 of Corey Ellis. Ellis just walking away here in Texas. Texas. Moto number 2. Now, moto number 1, we saw Corey Ellis finish in an 8th place position. So, bettering himself here in the second moto. You know that's going to make things really tough and tight as far as the overall is concerned. But he might be in contention depending on how things all work out here in this second moto. Joe Bird still running in the number 2 spot. Natali back in 3rd. Luberg, as we said, in the number 4 spot. And Luberg knocking hard on the door of the number 13. But here comes Ellis. Ellis into that big monster whoop field. He goes now aboard that Yamaha number 53. Look at this. Joe Bird closing the gap now. Earlier in this moto, it looked like Joe Bird was going to get in a heated battle and locked into that second place battle with John Natali, but he's stretching things out there. So he looks back one more time just to see where John's at. Now he sets his sights back on the number 53 of Corey Ellis, and Joe Bird is now in attack mode rather than defense mode. John Natali also trying to play catch up as he's trying to keep that number 8 of Jason Luberg at bay on board that Yamaha here at the Wrangler. A tight race through our top 4 riders, and what a way to open up the 2006 season. 2 great races, and it looks like 4 great and spectacular motos is what we're bearing witness to here to open up the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series early on in the 06 season. But Corey Ellis, the number 53, all eyes are on him this time around. Last time it was Digger Doug Gus. Amazing the turn of tides here in the second moto. Look how far Ellis is beginning to stretch it out now. I thought that Joe Bird was going to close the gap up on him and put the pressure on, but he must have gotten the pit board that Bird was closing in and goosed it up just a little bit more. Now he is flying high on adrenaline right now, and you know that he feels like he is poetry in motion as far as this ATV motocross track is concerned here in Decatur, Texas at the Oak Hill Motocross Park. It is definitely to the style and the liking of Corey Ellis. Here comes Bird, still in the number 2 spot. Bird could end up winning this overall today. I'm not sure. We'll have to start calculating points. He's currently second place. He finished 4th in Moto number 1, but Ellis, if you take a look at his score, he finished 8th in Moto 1. An 8 and a 1 scores him 9. Bird scoring a 4 and a 2 scores 6 overall points right now, so he's still a little bit closer to taking the overall. Ellis is going to have to hope for something to happen to Joe Bird in order for him to take the overall win here today, but don't count him out yet. Here comes the battle for 10th one more time. Digger Doug Gust aboard the number 55 and Joe Havistow, and it looks like Gust is going to take the 10th place position over now. Back up front with our leaders, Corey Ellis. Poetry in motion, as we'd made mention earlier in the beginning part of this moto, was trying to chase down his Yamaha factory teammate, Pat Brown. Brown, though, breaks. We're not sure what happened out there. He goes off by the wayside, and it's been all Corey Ellis from this point on, with Joe Bird trying to reel him in. Meanwhile, you got to wonder what's going on back there with the number 13 of John Natali. Is he tiring once more as he's trying to fend off the number 8 of Luberg? We have got a battle for the 3rd place position as that number 8 machine is knocking on the door. But right now, your defending champion, John Natali, has the door dead bolted and will not let him in. The battle for 8th place, Chad Weenan and Matt White. Watch him go. The 44 and the 32. 2 riders we expect to see work their way up through the pack as the season continues. But up front, it's still Ellis. Look at him go through the mechanics area, the pit board. The towels are rolling, and the crowd is on their feet here in Decatur, Texas for this second round of the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. The battle for 3rd place still between Luberg and Natali. Luberg is right there on the rear wheels of the number 13 of John Natali, but right now he is able to fend him off. Still a few laps to go. Is he going to be able to keep enough steam to keep the youngster from going by? Time will tell the story here at the Wrangler. Now through that whoop section. Let's see what kind of lines these riders are using. John Natali down on the left side. It looks like that Luberg using the exact same line, so he's not able to cut distance there. It's out in some of these other areas of the race course that Luberg is going to try to close that gap. Still second place, Joe Bird, Union City, Tennessee, heading into this second round of racing with the points lead. 2 wins in a row if you count last year's win at Dirt Days. He's working on win number 3 in a row and win number 2 here in the 2006 season. We'll see if he's able to pull that off, but he's got to get around. I think right now, if we start doing the math, he's still got to get around Corey Ellis, and he's got to hope that maybe something happens to the number 13 of John Natali, but there is still a glimpse and a glimmer of hope for the number 7 of Joe Bird to take the win here today. We just got to ride it out and find out what happened. And you know a lot of things are going through his mind right now, and you know a lot of things are going through this rider's mind as well. Corey Ellis, first time we've seen him up front in some time, and especially here in this 2006 season. And if you can get off to a good start in the early part of the season, if you can just get that little bit of confidence boost that you need, sometimes you become the rider to be reckoned with. And that could be what Corey Ellis is setting the stage for here now. And we could see that not only does John Natale have his work cut out for him with Joe Bird, Digger Doug Gus, and obviously Jeremiah Jones, but also guys like Corey Ellis and even Pat Brown could be those riders that we could see. Look at the battle for third now. Natale, Luberg, and Tavis Kane now sneaking up. Now Kane giving a little bump to the number 8 of Luberg. This might be the saving grace for the number 13 of John Natale, unless he actually pushes Luberg into a more aggressive state than what he already is, and the champ could be in trouble. There's Ellis one more time around. As you can see, he is comfortable out front. Nothing's going to stop this rider right now, it looks like, unless he makes a mistake or unless the machine breaks down, and it looks like it is running at its utmost best right now for Corey Ellis. Back in the number 2 spot, still Joe Bird, but really I think all attention has been turned to that number 3 position battle with John Natale, as well as Bluebird and the number 6 of Tavis Kane. Kane hoping that he can score a strong finish here. There's the number 7 of Bird. He is comfortable in the number 2 spot, comfortable in the number 1 spot. It's still the 53 of Corey Ellis as we are late in the moto now, and Jeremiah Jones out of it one more time. As you can see, as he just sits back and watches it all unfold. You know that Jones, and look at this, what's going on here? Your leader, Corey Ellis, stopping dead in the whoops, and he is not able to get away. Got a report now coming from down in the pit area. They're telling us that he pulled the kill switch. Somehow or another, coming through this section of the race course, pulled the kill switch. That rider didn't pull the kill switch, though. Digger Doug Gus gaining yet another position out there. Gus is on his way up through the pack. Corey Ellis throwing the win away here in moto number 2 and giving the lead to Joe Bird aboard the number 7. Again, a 4th place finish in moto number 1. A 4-1 will score him 5. Let's start taking a look at this. John Natale running in a 3rd place position right now, and a 2 from moto number 1 and a 3 in moto number 2 will score him 5. So right now, Joe Bird sits in position to take the overall win if he can hang on to it now throughout the rest of this moto, even with Natale back in the number 3 spot. A 2-3 scores him 5, a 4-1, and a tie going to Joe Bird. So it would be Joe Bird followed by John Natale in the number 2 spot, and Corey Ellis, believe it or not, may be knocking on the door for an overall 3rd place position. A podium position finish could be his, depending on what happens with Digger Doug Gus, the number 55 machine. He's trying to work his way up through the pack. He finished 1st in moto number 1, so if he can get up to at least an 8th place position, then Digger Doug would actually finish on the podium, but he's got to finish at least 8th in order to get it done. Right now he's running back in about 11th and 12th place position, working on a 10th place spot. The number 1 ride, though, the number 7 of Joe Bird. He's followed by Corey Ellis, number 53, now in 2nd place, again pulling the kill switch, and Joe Bird taking the win here aboard the number 7 machine. 2nd place going to go to Ellis, back in 3rd. It's still up for grabs, though, as we're heading down to the wire. Here comes Luberg, and he jumps past John Natale to take the 3rd place finish here in moto number 2. Look at that. Only inches separate them as they bump tires crossing the finish line.
Oh, I feel awesome. This is like a dream come true, you know, to win the first 2. I just wanted to come out, ride conservative, do the best I could do, and thank the good Lord I stayed healthy and got a good start. And yeah, you just don't know how excited I am. I think he hit the kill switch, and I knew I didn't need him for the overall unless I passed him. I didn't want to push it, so thank you, Corey.
I felt really good. I just kept pushing, trying to keep up with these guys. You know, even though I didn't get a good overall, it makes me feel good for the next one. Oh, I really like it. The track changed a lot throughout the whole moto, so I don't know, it was pretty cool. I didn't think it was, real good to pass on at first, but once you get out there and start racing with people, it's pretty good.
Well, history repeats itself for the 2nd time in a row in our ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. We take a look at the Moose Racing Pro overall results. Joe Bird takes the win. John Natale ends up in 2nd place. Corey Ellis rounds out your top 3.
I finally got a good start. I've ran pretty good so far this season, all the motos. I've ran like a fast pace, but I just haven't got a great start, and I finally got a good start this time, and I showed what I had. Yeah, Pat Brown, my Yamaha teammate, he pulled the whole shot. About third lap in, I passed him. Led pretty much the whole moto to about a lap and a half to go, and I just got a little too excited and tried charging a little too hard through the whoops and made a mistake and pulled my kill switch out, and that's when Joe passed me.
Moto was great. I mean, everything was working good. My bike was working good. The only thing that wasn't up to par was me this weekend. I got some arm pump out there and just got tired, and I kind of settled into where I was. I was kind of calculating in my head about the overall, and Corey was out front, Joe was in second, and I was running third, and if it would have stayed that way, it would have gave me the overall, so I kind of backed off to try to save some energy, and Corey ended up about going over the bars and decided to stall out, and Joe got by him, and from then on out, it was war. I was trying to catch him, but it was just too late. I couldn't catch up to Corey after that, and just settle for second this weekend. It's going to be a great season. I think that we've already showed that there's a lot of talent out there, and we're going to have a lot of good races, so it's going to be exciting.
A pretty wild day of racing when a rider can come from fourth place in Moto number 1 and a first place finish in Moto number 2 and still walk away with the overall win. You know that a lot of wild things took place throughout the course of this race day, but it's Burr, Vitale, and Ellis who get to celebrate here at the Wrangler. Round 2, the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series presented by Parts Unlimited.